What is up, runners? Today, I have an interesting article to talk about with you guys going over Marathon's ranked mode. Originally, I wasn't going to talk about this because I really didn't like the sound of a ranked mode, and I think my biggest complaint about it is that they're calling it a ranked mode. Now, there's going to be some things in here that are traditional of ranked modes and FPSs, right? We're going to have gold, silver, bronze, and other ranks. But I think the basic idea and the benefits of this are much different than a ranked mode, and I kind of want to see that change in name. But let's go ahead and first go over the article from MP First, who went ahead and got the information from a apparently well-known leaker who will be named in this article. We're going to go over this first, and then I'm going to talk about why I think this is actually a pretty good thing, and why some of you might want to actually play ranked. First off, this is by Alex Coe on the MP First website, as you can see here. So, Marathon, we know, is coming out in March, and it's going to have a ranked mode. They talked about it before, but this leaker here, X0X underscore leak on Twitter, which I think is actually a group of leakers, went ahead and leaked this information to this website. So obviously this is pre-release stuff, subject to change, but this actually sounds what I imagined a PvP focused extraction shooter would want to do. Starting off here, to play ranked mode in Marathon, you have to select a zone, pick a loadout that matches or exceeds the gear ante, and purchase a tag that sets your target score. So we'll see more about the tags later, but you do need to have a holo tag to enter the ranked mode. You need to have a minimum gear value to enter the ranked mode, and you're probably going to be in a group. They don't say specifically if there's a solo or trios version of this, but I'm assuming trio is default. Until we see that solo is an option, just assume that you have to be in trios to play ranked. Now, they also say the zones are going to be rotated weekly. Pretty decent idea. It gets everybody to be playing the same map at the same time, keeps the PvP lobbies focused, and then rotates through. So you can spend a week learning a map and getting your strategies down and make up the money at the end of the week. And then the next week you learn the new map and what everybody's doing that week. More interesting than changing it daily, something like that. As for progress, it is entirely loot value based. You have a minimum value you're going for to meet or exceed. You have to hit that to progress further. If you score under that, you will not progress in rank. And if you die, you lose rank. So pretty simple sounding, but there are a couple layers to how it functions. Now, the ranks they have here are bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, pinnacle. And then someone mentioned a master rank, which could be its own rank, or it could be a subset of pinnacle, kind of like top 500 in some competitive games. So each rank is going to have 1, 2, and 3 tiers, silver 1, silver 2, silver 3. And you're going to get ranked rewards, including cosmetics. Some of them will be available as soon as you rank up, and some will be given at the end of the season. Some of these might be tied to your all-time high for the season. Some might be tied to the rank that you end at in the season. We can probably expect to see skins. I would expect to see weapon skins, charms, probably stickers, and then, who knows, maybe some other cosmetics that they'll think of. Maybe some banners or something like that. So there's going to be 2 versions of ranked mode, okay? We have low stakes ranked matches, and for platinum or higher, which includes the platinum rank, the diamond rank, the pinnacle rank, there are also high stakes zones, or high rollers, as I would call them. So I want you to think of this as probably minimum buy-ins for your gear set, right? We talked about having to have a minimum value on your gear to load in plus the tag. So assumedly, the low stakes ranked lobbies will have a lower minimum value, let's say 10,000 value for your buy-in, that you have to have gear in your bag worth 10k to load in. And then maybe platinum or higher will be 20k minimum. So you are risking more to be in those lobbies. I could assume maybe those zones have higher drop rates on rarer items, wouldn't be unheard of. Or maybe it is just the other players are going to be having that high tier loot on them, and that, by extension, increases the amount of money you're going to earn on average per game when you're winning these fights. To get scored in a match, you have to have a holo tag equipped to contribute to your score. If you don't have a holo tag, you don't get any right? It does say somewhere that the holotag you bring in sets your gear score. I don't know exactly what that would break down to, but we'll get into some examples in just a second. If players exfil a ranked match, but you don't hit the score, your like minimum score bonus, you don't get any loss in rank, but you also don't gain rank. You will survive and stay neutral. If you fail to extract, you lose points equal to your score target. So if your target score is, say, 10,000 credits and you die, you lose 10,000 points in ranked or something proportional to that. So looking at our holotag rarities down here, in the match, your holotag can be looted by other players or you loot other players' tags, and picking it up will add points to your score and make it possible for you to score higher points than your set score target. So at base, the one that we should probably be looking at here is the silver. This has both of the numbers filled in compared to unknown and unknown. But a silver tag on infill is worth 5,000 credits. The assumption being, if you kill another player who bought a silver tag, it will be worth 5,000 credits to you as well. Then, if you pick up additional silver tags, this may only be one, or it could be for every silver tag you pick up, it increases the capacity of your score by 1,000. So your maximum value, because it sounds like there's a minimum for you to gain rank, and then there's a maximum on how much you can gain each match. The more players that you kill and collect their tags, the more your capacity goes up for your rank. So if you go into a lobby with a silver, maybe your maximum rank gained is 5,000, but if you go and kill a team of all pinnacle players and you pick up all of their pinnacle tags, you've just gained a total capacity of 12,000 more rank points. Don't know what that is worth exactly, or if that's going to be actually helpful, but just as an example, the more players you kill and the more tags you get, the more rank you can gain each match. Now you can see here that as you go up, obviously it gets more expensive to buy the tag, and the tag is worth more to every player the higher rarity it is. Up to pinnacle tags being worth 20,000 credits. This will be if someone picks it up. That means every kill is worth at least 20,000 plus the value of their kit, the weapons, the cores, the mods, the attachments, meds, and util. All that stuff will probably count to your actual value. Now, at first glance, we have separate lobbies for low rollers and high rollers. We have tag-based financial value for each player, and there's the looming question of why is this in the game? Ranked mode, to me, sounds dumb in an extraction shooter. Arc Raiders makes the most sense so far for a ranked mode because it is, doing challenges, and you gain ranks for doing challenges and you get unlocks for doing those. That kind of makes sense. It's not a direct, you're going into ranked lobbies to fight other players to be the better player. It's just a rank based on how well you perform on whatever random thing they pull. It's interesting. A lot of people don't find it super engaging, and it makes you do certain tasks, but it doesn't make you play certain ways or be incentivized to bring in certain loadouts, right? So there's a couple problems that we have with Arc Raiders, with Tarkov, with Hunt, or other extraction shooters that I've seen people complain about, and even talking about Marathon, looking into Marathon, people going, why is this way? Why is this that way? First off, we have free kits / sponsor kits. In Arc Raiders, a lot of people are not mad, but they're iffy about free kits because why would you bring in your Bobcat, your Tempest, your other purple or gold weapons when a free loadout with a Stitcher can kill you about as fast as you can kill them? The overwhelming spamming of cheap loadouts and free loadouts and the overall value of those weapons being competitive, which I think in most cases you want all your weapons to be somewhat competitive in a shooter like this, because otherwise PvP goes down the drain. The free and sponsor kits are going to be very, very strong just at base because that's how PvP works. So you'll see a lot of Arc Raider players just hoarding purples or selling the purples because why bring in all the purples when you can just bring in more and more and more Stitchers and Il Toros or whatever the meta is at this time, right? In Marathon even, the Rook is probably not going to be the biggest threat. Sorry, Rook is probably not going to be the biggest... Okay, So even one of the questions about Rook and even sponsor kits and Marathon is these are really cheap ways to go in to play. Why would I go ahead and bring in my heavily modded sniper rifle or a totally tricked out core and implant kit just to die to a Rook or a squad of Rooks or just a bunch of people on sponsor kits? And realistically, the most definitive answer of an extraction shooter is you bring that stuff in so that you have better chances of killing those players. You're going to probably stomp them more than they'll kill you, but that's never really stopped people from getting one tapped by garbage ammo in Tarkov or Hunt and even Arc Raiders, right? That's why we're talking about these Stitcher kits. So, by giving you the choice to go into ranked modes, people have to have a minimum value for you to fight them. You're going to be queuing against players who, let's say, their kits have to be worth 20K in your lobbies. Everybody's going to have that 20K. You know that you're not going to get, jumped by a bunch of people with white gear who teamed up in VoIP chat just to, try and take the geared guy's loot. You're not going to accidentally just into a group of 5 people who are all white gear. And it makes it so that when you do kill people, if you do end up in a situation where you are so geared and you kill 4, 5, 6 players, that the odds of you looting them and finding all garbage free kits or sponsor kits, you're going to kill them and you know that they are going to have a certain value of loot on them, at least, minus whatever meds or ammo they spent in the time getting to the fight. But you know that every kill is going to at least have a tag on them worth a good bit, and they're going to have gear and ammo and meds for you to use. That means you are guaranteed to get a return on your investment as long as you are good enough to continue, breaking even at least, or at least get a 50-50 survival rate. If you are going into these ranked lobbies and you're not, heavily PvPing, but you are trying to scrounge up loot, this gives you a secondary reason to grab that loot, as well as making it so that if you do stumble on boxes, there's probably more weapons and gear and ammo and other things just like left on bodies because you're not going to have enough space to take everybody's gear. They have to come in with gear, which means you're not going to have the space to take everybody's stuff. So people who are scrounging will have more things left over to take. Finally, this also gives you a division in friendly and hostile lobbies, right? If people want to PvP and they want to be rewarded for PvPing, they want to make money, they are going to go into ranked, especially if they're getting to the higher ranks, right? Once you break platinum and you're in these high roller lobbies where people's tags themselves alone are worth 15 to 20,000, then getting into a team fight and killing 3 people or multiple team fights and killing more than that, you can very quickly snowball how much money you're making in one game. Your buy-in might be the 20,000 plus 40 more from your kit, but if you're killing players who are worth 60,000 for a team wipe just in their tags alone, you very, very quickly escalate how valuable it is to PvP, and you get to make money faster and faster. Now, maybe you can go into the smaller lobbies, but you're going to be getting less rank because they're going to be worth less, and each person's going to be less worth your time to kill in the lower ranked lobbies. So it creates this natural division of hostile players going to ranked to get the most money out of your PvP and also to minimize the feeling of dying to trash loadouts and losing all your good gear. You will know at least that you are fighting players of a similar caliber. Now, in the casual friendly lobbies, you are still going to have the players who just don't want to play ranked, want to spend the time looting, want to PvE, want to VoIP and team up with randoms, want rooks to be hanging around. Casual is going to be, a great place to farm, a great place to just kind of hang out. You're going to still see people who are aggressive or want to take fights, and there's going to be unfriendly people naturally who just don't want to go into ranked, and people who are going to bring in their super expensive stuff into your free kit lobbies. But that just means you now have the opportunity to kill them and take really good gear with your bad loadout. Or, you kind of expected to go in with a bad loadout and not necessarily have an advantage. You knew you're going to be going in at a disadvantage compared to somebody who could go in kitted. So you're going to see less geared players. The geared players are going to be obviously less rewarded for killing you, and you're going to be way more rewarded when they are in your lobbies, kind of like loot pinatas. But it's going to take the PvP heavy players and put them into their own lobbies. Now, we obviously have the 4 maps: Perimeter, into Dire Marsh, into Outpost, into Cryo Archive, escalating the amount of difficulty and PvP you're probably going to be seeing. But now we also have 3 different investment pools of the casual lobbies where you can be free or using sponsor kits, the low roller lobbies, which are going to be a minimum buy-in, and then the high roller lobbies, which are probably double, if not more, minimum buy-in. This is going to split up the player base into sort of high-end PvP lobbies, mid-tier PvP lobbies, and probably friendly or very low-tier PvP lobbies, where people are bringing in cheaper kits and using cheaper weapons to PvP, just kind of going into spam games, more casual. Obviously, my casual players, my PvE players, my players who want to avoid fighting the loot goblins, casual, go for it. You know what I mean? It's going to be a really good time. People are going to be less incentivized to kill you because you don't drop a tag in casuals. Now, my assumption is that these lobbies are going to have higher tier loot. It might not, but let's just say there is a very good chance that a high tier lobby of a high roller lobby will probably have either a higher drop chance for super rare items or a chance for items of maybe a rarity higher than gold to drop. Not confirmed. That's speculation on my part. I just wouldn't be surprised to see it. Now, let's go ahead and really quickly, I just want to show you Dark and Darker. If you haven't heard Dark and Darker, it's kind of like D&D, but an extraction game. Controversial a little bit sometimes with some of their practices, but I think showing you their new system for how you can queue up for matches will make this kind of make a little bit more sense. The PvE campaign stuff is new. They added the PvE mode where you go in, there's no PvP, no friendly fire, you're just fighting enemies, you're gearing up to purple rarity, right? Just kind of casually leveling up as well, because leveling up is very important in this game to get perks, to get extra spells, and gear and money. So there's a PvE version of the game that you go in and do, and then once you get to a certain rank, you can queue up into normal campaigns. These normal campaigns are their regular PvPvE lobbies. Let's say you're going in solo, you are going to be matched for players up to blue items. So you want to be spending time in these earlier PvE stuff, or kind of just spamming the normal campaigns if you're into the PvP, to go ahead and gear up and get blues and probably some greens, and then you can queue up into this lobby where you expect people to have blues. If you kill them, you're probably going to get more money off of them. Then, as you gear up playing these lobbies, getting up to the legendary rewards, you can then go into their high roller lobbies, which have a minimum buy-in of 100. You have to spend gold to queue up, and players can queue up with up to red items, which are only acquirable in high roller. So these players who are in high roller and play high roller a lot will have way better stats than people who are queuing up from normal campaigns. They'll have an advantage for all that stuff, but you are going to be in a lobby where players are going to be worth a certain amount of money. I don't know in this game if your ante is on you when you queue up, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's like not a thing and this is a new marathon thing. But it's pretty interesting and just gives you an idea that like this system kind of already exists, and I think it's kind of similar to how Apex does ranked. I think Apex, you queue up your ranked directly, you gamble ranked points to queue up, and then you gain more back in the middle of the game. So I don't think we're going to see restrictions like this has, where friendly encounters are prohibited, teaming is bannable. I doubt that. VoIP is still there, and I think if you can VoIP people effectively, then that should count as a skill. And then there's other modes in here like Rags to Riches, which is going in with like nothing and trying to gear up. And I think this is just like more PvP focused. But just for the general sense, a casual mode, a low stakes mode, a high stakes mode, right? That's what I'm anticipating seeing out of this ranked system. And I just think that is actually kind of good. And I just wish it wasn't called ranked. If it was like a challenger mode, or I don't know, some kind of themed thing where you were still paying money to go in. You had to go a minimum buy-in, and you were just gambling against other players. Make it like some kind of just gambling mini game for queuing up. I think that would be a lot more interesting and a lot less lame sounding than ranked. But I think if you're interested in PvP at all, I think ranked mode is actually where you want to go to PvP, because you will make more money off of PvPing than you will PvE, and it gives you an excuse to buy and use higher rarity items, especially once you're in these high tier brackets, at least even gold, probably looking at like 2,000, maybe 1,500 for the credit limit, and then somewhere between 7,500 and 10K for the credits per kill. Once you get into these tiers where you're 15, 20K, you're making money for PvPing, you're going to be rewarded, it's going to be fun, and if you're more casual, just stay in the casual lobbies, and you're probably going to have a much more chill experience for that case. So, yeah, I think this is actually worth your time, especially for PvPing. And if you're not PvPing, if you are a casual, it's not a drag that ranked is into the game. It is going to be a great limiter for the kinds of players that you see in your casual lobbies. So just something to point out there. This is better than I think it sounded at first. And it's actually very, very cool. Let me know what you guys think. Are you going to be playing ranked? Is this an interesting topic for you? Is this how you thought it was going to play out? I will see you all again very, very soon.